Welcome everyone. Kalimera, it's Frank here from TalkingGodsGrace.com. If you don't know me, I'm just a regular person like you. I was a former member of the Organization of Jehovah's Witnesses for 30 years. So I have a lot of experience in that area of life. I was quite a zealous person in my 30 years being a member. Totally believed in it. At the same time, I had doubts, but pressed on and endured, as they say. Today I find myself on this channel doing my spreading the gospel of grace. At times I do talk about my former religion, and this is one of those moments where I'm going to talk about a subject which I've uploaded onto my my website. I have a new website. If you're just jumping on, the website's called the URL is www.talkinggodsgrace.com, all one word, Talking God's Grace, or that's how you would type it in on the browser. Make sure you include www.talkinggodsgrace.com, and you'll find in the pages section, on the title sections, there's one now named Jehovah's Witnesses Explained. Now, just a little bit on the website. I am in progress of building this up, so it's all fairly new. There's just a few topics on there. I might rearrange things. My mailbox isn't set up as yet. Okay, so I apologize for that. I'm trying to do a lot of things and do that as well. And so, yeah, so anyway, I thought I would introduce a new subheading or set heading into that website, just dedicated to Jehovah's Witnesses and former Jehovah's Witnesses. So it's a bit of both. There's a bit of discussion that I'm intrigued about. Some of the teachings that I've already explained in my some of my YouTube channels, and I will hopefully condense that into a article form, or maybe even use the whole transcript and load it up. I'm not too sure. We'll see how we go. What's triggered on this topic today, which is basically a thought that came to me as I was going to a restaurant to see a Catholic friend of mine. Each to their own. Have you ever said that as being one of Jehovah's Witnesses, or maybe not? But Jehovah's Witnesses are very a phrase they use a lot. Each to their own. I used that when I was introduced to that phrase when I first became a witness, because there was many options available to you. I wouldn't say many, but options available to you. And so how do you navigate them as one of Jehovah's Witnesses with all their doctrines and all their policies and all their rules in place, right? And so the way you went about things was to say, each to their own. Okay, so how does that work? How does each to their own work? Well, let's say you want to enter into higher education. Well, I'm not sure if you understand what Jehovah's Witnesses' view on that is. It's not favorable. They're not against it, but it's not favorable. So the one that wants to pursue a higher education and the one that doesn't, and the conversation could go something like this: so-and-so's pursuing a higher education. Each to their own. Well, someone wants to have a party. Oh, what type of party is it? Well, I'm not too sure. Each to their own. Because parties, there's suggestions how you go about having a party or a wedding party, or who's going to be there and how much and how many people. And what about work? Each to their own, right? Career, each to their own. Should I go to a sporting event? Each to their own. Should I watch this on TV? Each to their own. So this topic, I've typed it up. It's out. It's on the website. The theme on the website is exploring the boundaries of personal freedom, a critical examination of each to their own in the context of Jehovah's Witnesses. So this is what I say. Within the Jehovah's Witness community, the principle of each to their own is often cited as a means for individuals to exercise personal freedom. However, upon closer examination, it becomes evident that this phrase is limited in its scope and primarily operates within the boundaries, the confines of JW theology and rules on conduct. In this article, we will critically analyze the concept of each to their own within the context of Jehovah's Witnesses, exploring its implications, the challenges it poses, and the potential consequences for those who overstep the boundaries set by the Watchtower Society. The next subheading is the boundaries of personal freedom. While the phrase each to their own may seem to imply that Jehovah's Witnesses can live according to their own preferences and desires, the reality is quite different. Personal freedom within Jehovah's Witness community is heavily regulated and circumscribed by the teachings and doctrines promulgated by the Watchtower Society. Jehovah's Witnesses, or JWs, are expected to adhere strictly to these guidelines, and any deviation can result in scrutiny, judgment, and even disciplinary measures. The next subheading, navigating limited freedom. Jehovah's Witnesses face the daunting task of navigating their lives within the strict framework established by the Watchtower Society. That's what we used to say back in the 90s, Watchtower Society. Today they would say Watchtower Organization or the governing body. Same thing, right? Their decisions and choices are heavily influenced by the interpretations and teachings of the organization, leaving little room for independent thought or exploration of alternative perspectives. The limited freedom granted to JWs requires constant vigilance and conformity to the prescribed norms, which can lead to suppression of individuality and critical thinking. Now you can add to your own as you contemplate what we're saying here. You can think about your own experiences as a JW currently or former JW. Consequences of overstepping JW rules. The consequences for overstepping JW rules can be severe. Deviating from the prescribed path set forth by the Watchtower Society can result in a range of disciplinary actions, including counselling, reproof, or even disfellowshipping, which would include shunning. Then I put here, the latter entails being shunned by the community, resulting in the loss of social support, relationships, and potentially causing immense emotional distress. The control of personal convictions. You notice the theme that is introduced by this each to their own, how limited that is. It is all limited within the framework of the organization's teachings. Yet you're supposed to be free, but yet you're not free, are you? Let's press on, shall we? The control of personal convictions. The concept of each to their own within the JW community is undermined by the pervasive control exerted by the organization over the personal convictions and choices of its members. Independent thinking, questioning, or dissenting from the established doctrines is discouraged and seen as a sign of spiritual weakness or apostasy. As a result, JWs often find themselves conforming to the expectations of the Watchtower Society rather than genuinely exploring and developing their own beliefs. Now, doesn't mean they don't, like the PMOs, physically and mentally out, but it's not being authentic, is it? You're still controlled, aren't you? Right, when you think about it. The impact on individual autonomy. The limitations on personal freedom within the Jehovah's Witness community can have profound impact on individual autonomy. The constant need to align personal choices and convictions within the teachings of the organization can lead to self-censorship and suppression of one's true identity. This can result in internal conflict, cognitive dissonance, and diminished sense of self. Would you say this is true? I know this was true for me. I know when I when the generation teaching was questioned back in 1995, when they brought out a new idea or new thought on that, my life changed in a way that I didn't expect, because I bought all in. I was all in, 100% all in for the end to come. Now that they shifted the idea that we're not too sure, it's open-ended. I thought to myself, hang on, you mean what? Just like it was like I was in a crisis of faith moment there and then. I remember sitting in the Kingdom Hall thinking, hang on, I've put all my eggs in this one basket, and that's a really bad thing to do now. I thought back then, but I thought, I can't give up, right? I've got to persevere. And I started questioning everything, about my motivations and what should I do and what shouldn't I do. This is why this each to their own started to become a catchphrase for me, very popular catchphrase for myself. Believe it or not, after that, I got into competitive sport again. I was a competitive sportsman before I became one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and at that moment, after that, I tried to figure out a way to get back into competitive sport that wasn't brutal, because I used to play rugby league. That was pretty hard going on your body, and soccer, and that would have meant playing and training during the week, a couple of days a week, and then on the weekends. So I found an alternative, which was squash. I enjoyed playing squash. I wasn't as good in that sport as I was playing rugby league and soccer. However, I was good enough. And I won a few competitions, and I played competition squash for at least a decade, on and off over the years. But this is where this started to come in for me. See, I started to wanting to find myself again, And this is a problem with this sort of conformity and diminish of sense of self. This is what happens. So the conclusion is this: while the phrase each to their own may initially seem to imply personal freedom and autonomy, when you critically examine the application within the context of the religion, reveals significance, limitations, and control. The boundaries of personal freedom are carefully defined by the Watchtower Society, whether you want to agree with me or not. It's okay. Please leave your comment at the end. The deviating from these boundaries can lead to severe consequences. The suppression of individuality and the control of personal convictions raise the important questions about their extent of personal freedom within the JW community and the impact it has on the lives of its members. Now, feel free to go onto my website. I'll repeat it again, www.talkinggodsgrace.com, and you can use this information. There are other articles there as well that you can take. It's all for free. I'm not worried how you want to use it. I'm not making any money by doing this. This is just for free content, And this website will become a place where you can come and relax if you're one of Jehovah's Witnesses and explore. There'll be many more other topics, right, that are not JW-centric. But I am leaving one page there, one dedicated page for Jehovah's Witnesses to come on, because it seems that there are many asking questions, and I think it's a good service to have. It will be very balanced in a lot of ways. I try to make it balanced, and hopefully it'll be a place where if you have, like me, a lot of thoughts that were running through my head and I had no one to share it with or understand, at least you have somebody you can look at and read. And there are many other websites that have many encouraging articles for JWs and former JWs as well. But anyway, thanks for listening. Tell me what you think. Did you ever say that? Did you ever say that as a Jehovah's Witness, or are you still saying that? Each to their own, brother. Brought back memories. I remember we used to have these debates. See, back in the day, back in the 90s, when they had the book study, you recall that? Maybe this is a topic for another day. We would have debates. We were going through the Revelation book. Oh my gosh. That was a beauty, wasn't it? The Revelation book. But the debates afterwards, after the book study, we would sit back and talk about it. And then there would be all these disagreements because, believe it or not, there were many people still conflicted about the Watchtower's interpretations because they were still hanging on to their previous interpretations on matters. I was just fairly new, so I had no idea about the Babylon the Great book, that red book, and other books that they were quoting from. Russell said this, the Watchtower said this back in the day, and right, and now they're saying this, right? And then this phrase would pop up. Oh, well, each to their own in their thinking, each to their own. It was like a cop-out or a way to get out of not saying this is what I really think, right? Because that's dangerous. That's dangerous territory to say, I really believe this, which is contrary to the Watchtower. If you say that, man, you're in trouble. I'm telling you, someone's going to leak that information that you've just said in that little group. You might think they're all loyal to. They're not. Because they're all loyal to the Watchtower in the end. And they will then go and tell somebody, like an elder, guess what so-and-so said. Right? They didn't say each to their own, so they said this. I think they really mean that, right? Happens to me a few times, believe it or not. As I was waking up, had friends that I'd speak to, they would then tell my elders, and then in conversation, my elders would say to me, your friend from this congregation out there, you guys are talking? Yeah, he said that you said, he said you said. Then I had to explain to the elders, no, I didn't say that. I said this. I might have said that, but, they start putting their own spin on things, right? I was very careful. I was very careful to a point, because I understood. You say anything that is, and personally make it a point of doctrine and contention, man, you're in trouble. I'm just telling you. So, anyway, that's my my new page on my website. This is the theme today was each to their own. Each to their own. How limited is that? You think it's full of freedom? Not really. Each to their own. Have a great day, guys. Talk to you soon.